All right, when we get started, so I'll call to order at 7:01 p.m.
So are you going to be the clerk tonight?
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
All right, so this is the Wednesday, July 12th, 2017 Finance Committee meeting. On the agenda tonight, we do have a spot for reserve fund transfers, however, we do not have any. So everything, we're all good on our bills as we get into the end of the year. And then we're going to review the financial policies, mail, minutes, and then we'll set our next meeting. All right. So as I said, no reserve fund transfers. The town account never got back to me, and so the fiscal year ends June 30th, and then there's 2 weeks through July 15th for reserve fund transfers to be processed. So this is our last scheduled meeting before that deadline, so I think we're good. So other order of business, I do want to just kind of walk through the financial policies with the committee. These are in need of being updated. And the goal for review is I want to reach out to the town administrator, the town clerk, tax collector, and treasurer, who's all the same person now, and try and get, and also the town accountant, and try and get a group together, representative from the Board of Selectmen, and just kind of go through and update some of these. The Board of Selectmen did pass a cash, was a free cash policy about 1.5 years ago. Which was well after this was finalized, and those need to be incorporated in here. All right. So the goal of the policies is primarily to just give a roadmap and a philosophy of how we run the business, how we manage our finances, and how we work through the financial operation of the town. So it gives just a description what the objectives are. The maintenance is really, we're looking to do every 2 years. They should have been done last year, but the Finance Committee and I think the Board of Selectmen weren't really in a position to do that at that time. There are restrictions on the financial policies, however, which are in here. However, DOR has come back because we asked after the last time we put that in, and they said they're not overly enforceable, but they're also just good to have something in writing so that we can use, as kind of a benchmark, I guess. So then it talks about the audit. So we have an annual audit that the town accountant works with. We have an audit firm that comes in, reviews everything, gives a findings letter, which has actually been pretty good. It's more so since we have the new treasurer and tax collector. Things have been cleaned up a lot with some of the finances. We have to present a balanced budget, which is required by state law. And then financial forecasting. So we've tried to do a 5-year financial forecast. The town accountant does have one, but it's very high level. I had started working on one years ago, got sidetracked on it, never got to finish it, never got to really work with her to kind of work through it. So that's one of the goals I would like to try and get done this year for myself, is to work with the town accountant and get that done. General fund revenue just stipulates where our revenue comes from. Hey, Mr. Crow.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. How are you?
Got my pontoons on and made it. Yeah, it's raining a little bit.
So we have no reserve fund transfers this evening, and we're just going through the financial policies, because I think this is going to lay out kind of the work we have to do over the next couple months before we start the next budget cycle. So our general fund revenue, we're on page 4.
Thank you.
So it kind of details what where the revenue comes from. It's, Prop 2.5, what property values, what they should be maintaining. Treasurer and tax collector should, we look for target collection rate of 98%. I actually haven't asked the tax collector what our collection percentage is recently, so maybe I'll follow up on that. So reviewing the fee structure, so every year or two we want to look at the fees that we charge for just regular services in town, whether it's like the transfer station is looked at by a separate committee, but things such as building permits, sewage connections, etc. Tax rates being set annually by the Board of Selectmen. We implemented a meals tax about 4 years ago. So This calls it out to go specifically to the OPEB, or Post-Employment Benefits Fund, pending approval of town meeting. This is called out here specifically because that's what we want to use it for. However, there's no legal binding movement. But when we do estimate, and when the OPEB committee meets, that's what they keep in mind is for fund. What they recommend for funding is how much they think we'll get in meals tax, and they put a little bit more on, generally on top of that. If you guys have any questions as we kind of walk through this, just let me know. Tax incremental financing review committee. This is something I think I don't think we've had a TIF in a while. Everyone understand what a TIF is, or a tax incremental funding? So it's a break on property taxes that we'll give to a business, or in return for certain benchmarks, whether it's hiring so many people, certain services or businesses that they do. And there's supposed to be a review of their financials. There's certain reports they're supposed to submit to the town each and every year. And when this was put together, that had completely fallen by the wayside. So we put it in here in hopes that we could get a committee together. We did name a committee about 2 years ago, but I don't think we've ever had anything to review. So I think that's going to be a talking point with the town administrator.
So Scott, if I can ask, the
Sure.
TIF, would the agreement with the solar firms to use the old dump in exchange for power fall under a TIF agreement?
I don't think it would be specifically under a TIF agreement. I think it's more of a lease agreement where they're leasing the land and they're paying a fee for the lease as opposed to paying property taxes. So TIF would be, for example, one that we had was with L3 Communications over on Nemco Way, where they were supposed to have a certain amount of employees at that location for, I think it was 4 or 5 years, in return for the lower taxes. And they were, that's just one example, but they're supposed to submit financials or certain reports to us annually to confirm that they're still doing what they're supposed to do for the TIF. And number 10 is an important one where we don't want to issue any licenses or permits to anyone who's delinquent on taxes or town fees. So that has gone much better in the last 2 or 3 years. When these were put together, that was still an issue. Moving on to free cash. So free cash is any excess revenue that we have at the end of the fiscal year that we haven't spent. So for example, if we set our budget for, we'll use round numbers, say $1 million, because that's what we estimate our revenue will be. We end up spending $900,000, but we collect $1 million. We have $100,000 of free cash. The other opportunity to get free cash is if we budget $1 million, we spend $1 million, but then we collect $1.3 million. Then we have $300,000 of free cash. So we want to stipulate what the free cash can go for, and one of the things we want to avoid is using it for operating. We want to look for kind of more of investment opportunities and also savings opportunities. So part of that goes into the OPEB for the post-retirement benefits. Part of it goes to capital stabilization, regular stabilization. And then we also have been using it for one-time purchases related to capital that's too small for a borrow, but too big to sit in an operating budget. So we'll utilize the free cash for that. Because when we look at the revenue for the next fiscal year, when we put our budget together, we do include the free cash in there. So we're all kind of drawing from the same pool. We're just calling out that the free cash we want to stipulate has to be something outside of the operating budget. Employee compensation, just kind of some guidelines. This is something that now that we have a benefit manager and also we have the personnel board, we can work with them on getting some updates for that. So we want to pay employees at the market wages. We want to keep the COLAs within reason, primarily, and then want to review periodically within the personnel policy.
You mentioned the personnel board at our last meeting. You were going to check with Robert to see.
I haven't had a chance to follow him up yet. I had a marketing project I had finished up last week, sorry. But I'm free for 5 weeks till my next class.
Hey.
So looking at funds, so it just stipulates where our funding can come from. Operating expenses should be paid for within the operating revenues. External borrowing will not be used to fund current operating expenditures. And the way the enterprise funds work, the fee structure, the rates for sewer, water, et cetera, capital improvements within the enterprise funds, and then just all regulations, we have to follow Massachusetts DOR regulations. And then there's an exhibit for enterprise funds indirect cost. So the reserves that we have set up, we have one, as I said, for stabilization, and the second one is for OPEB. So what we're looking for with our reserve funds is really to, when we have the cash, we want to put it away so we have it if needed going forward. I started on the committee just at the beginning of the recession, and the first couple of years were really lean. Budgets were just slashed. And everyone did a great job working within the confines that they had, but it was a tough couple of years. And then the last, 5 years, we've been actually kind of flush with free cash because we've kind of gotten our act together with how we operate things, and our budgeting, I think, has gotten a little more strategic, as opposed to just a blanket, hey, you have to take a 2% increase. We look for, what do you need, how much do you need, and other than that, it's level funded. Stabilization fund, so we look for at least 7% of that to be, we had set 7% as a goal to put of the operating revenue into stabilization. And then we want 10% of that to be maintained for capital itself. So there's a way we decided to do the calculation for a minimal in the event that we don't have enough money to hit that 7%. And we haven't had to use that. And then stabilization fund is regulated by state law. The town draws funds from stabilization and implements a plan to replenish the balance in addition to annual funding calculation. That's very similar to the way that the UDAG fund works. You guys know what the UDAG fund is? No? Okay, it's and that's why we're doing this. It's an urban development something grant. I forget what the A stands for. Really what it is, it was money that was given to the town to kind of beautify itself and to work towards specific infrastructure goals. And as the Board of Selectmen had used that, they actually always put the money back in. So they would use it for one thing, like Board of Selectmen can draw from that without town meeting approval. So they would use it for, I think they used it for the study for, the eminent domain. They used it for the study of that, but then they took it from through town meeting to replenish UDAG for that. So it's kind of like if you think of it like a short-term checking account is the way that the Board of Selectmen have been using it, and they've been replenishing it. We kind of look for the same thing on stabilization, where we want to, if we're going to use the stabilization funds, we want to make sure we have a plan to put it back so that we can maintain our necessary balances. Is it just me, or is it ridiculously hot in here?
It's warm.
Okay. I would have moved us out in the lobby, but Donnie set up the camera in here because the air conditioning is actually working out there. OPEB, so OPEB is the post-employment benefits for retired employees. And with that, we get a actuary report every 2 years. I think we're due for one this year. That gives us our estimated liability overall. It includes the retired employees and also the current working employees. That, I will stress, doesn't include any of the teachers that are up at the regional school district, because they used to be included in our initial actuary reports. And then once they regionalize, they become a separate entity. So therefore, the liability sits with them. But we're going to get that back at some point. And we've asked here and there, we've asked the school committee to look into that, to kind of come up with a plan. So that's something that should be a good follow-up as we go through the updating process. Capital planning, so we have the capital planning committee, which Pat is our new member for, and they handle all the capital planning requests. So there's certain stipulations that we have to hit, whether it's, and I know this is one that they actually want to review, this one, the capital planning and the capital finance, because really the dollar amounts have stayed stagnant over the last 10 years, but the value of what we're buying keeps going up. So everything seems to be a borrow. So we're trying to get away from that. So the town accountant said she really would like to review that and get rid of that and kind of adjust those accordingly. So we can work with capital planning as we get later into towards the budget cycle to update that, get their input. So they collect 5-year capital expense request packages. I'm not sure if they still do that, because I know one of the comments I got from, I think it was Mary Spinner, was that you get a 5-year package, and usually after 2 years, it's just a wish list, and then it continually changes. So it's not like what's 5 years out works its way up and ends up being in the bar of the current year.
Well, if they do a 5-year plan every year, that's really a 1-year plan.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it does change, and there's also some flexibility when they go and they review the request and they look at the request, they look at the 5-year plan, depending on what it is. For example, the DPW facility, that was on, I think, 5 years ago, and it's been on for 5 years, but it's always been 5 years out because the price tag was originally millions and millions and millions of dollars. So by going with the modular, that got moved into this year, which then brings it into fruition.
Well, the good thing about a 5-year plan is it can be used to measure the efficacy of your planning by looking at your expenditures at a regular basis. The bad thing about a 5-year plan is, as you said, the prices of things change, requirements change, priorities change. So it's got some goods and it's got some bads, and as long as it's used properly, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, and ultimately what we'd like to try to do is take the 5-year capital planning and put that with the 5-year financial planning.
No, that would be good.
And kind of marry those up so they work in tandem with each other. I think that would be, we have to kind of get the 5-year financial planning working first before we can do that. So capital expenses, anything over $10,000. As I said, everything, there's that gray area below that where, say like a $5,000 lawnmower or something we had to buy one year, and it didn't qualify for capital, so we couldn't go through capital planning, but he couldn't afford it as operating. So we used the one-time funds for that. An estimate of maintenance costs was another piece that we added in here because there were a couple assets that were purchased years and years ago that were ridiculously expensive to maintain and actually cost more than the asset itself when all is said and done. So capital finance. So there's a couple ways that we can finance it. So there is the non-exempt or regular debt. That's in excess of $250,000. It shall be funded through the operating budget. So we basically go out, we pull a bond, gets paid for. And then there's a debt exclusion, and that is requires the override vote. So that's where we're going to borrow the money, but instead of taking out paying for it through operating, we're going to pay through a tax override. And we had a couple in the last year. And then my favorite is the capital exclusion, which is a one-time tax override, and we tried that twice and we failed twice. So a capital exclusion is if we have something we want to buy for $500,000, we put it on. Basically it's an override, but if it passes for 1 year, the $500,000 is an increase in taxes, and then it just goes away. The tax rate comes back down after that 1 year. We tried that a couple of years with. There were a few things that we were trying to bundle together, and they failed miserably, because people just didn't quite understand what the capital exclusion was. Our investment policy, so the treasurer, there's a 1999 investment policy adopted by the town of Ayer. I think that needs to be updated. And then there's a water sewer shutoff policy, which has been updated since this has been done. Procurement policies has been updated also by the town administrator. And then just the long-term debt. So it's only for capital improvements and projects. We look to pay off our debt as quickly as possible, and then we don't want it to exceed 8% of our overall omnibus budget. So we don't want to get to a stage where we're 20% of what we're spending is all going to borrow. We want to make sure it stays under that 8%, and that's the recommendation at the time of Department of Revenue. So that's the quick walkthrough of the policies. There's other exhibits in here just to kind of give you general idea of details for each of those, the capital planning policy, the investment policy, etc. Do you want to go through those? You guys want to read them on your own?
I'll read it on my own.
Okay, good answer.
Who are these people on the finance committee?
What's that?
Who are all these people on the finance committee?
Well, there was me, John Cummins, he was a good friend of mine. Marianne just left. Chris Musil ended up moving to Shirley, and Pauline left the committee last year.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah, a year and a half, I think. It was before last Springtown meeting. So we used to have 5 at one point.
Amazing.
We will again.
So did you have any luck getting a hold of that?
I
individual?
have not, so I'll get to that in one moment, a little later on in the agenda. All right, so you guys can look at that. What I'd like is, if there's no objections, I'd like myself, and I know Pat has volunteered, to kind of talk to the town administrator and work on updating the policies, work to coordinate getting the committee together this year to work on these probably late summer into the fall and get those updated with, more current information, additional policies that have been attributed to, and then generally how a lot of these policies come about is we steal from other towns, to be honest. We can look at other examples and see what other towns are doing and see if there's anything else that...
Why not? If it works for them, it should work for us.
Oh, exactly. I stole most of this from the town of Northborough. So any objections to Pat and I working on that? And Pat, you're still good?
Oh, yeah,
working on that?
absolutely.
Okay, excellent. All right. So if you go through the policies, if you go through the appendix and you have any questions, just let me know. We can discuss them at our next meeting.
Okay.
Currently, we have no old business. Looking at the mail, so I had a few things that were actually at home from our last, I forgot for our last meeting. So there's an the issue of the Beacon, which is always an interesting read. And then Municipal Advocate, which is usually interesting. That we get one copy of each, so you guys are happy to take them if you want.
Would you like me to forward to the committee the bi-weekly email I get from DLS with what they call it, the town and something that I get because I went to that thing?
It's up to the committee.
It's interesting. It's stuff from the Department of Revenue and the Department of Local Services, and every now and then there's a nugget of interest in it. I'll be happy to, when I get it, email it, because I got one today.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I might not read it, but you can send it to me anyway.
yeah. Well, if you read it, fine. If you don't,
Just fill in your inbox, Greg. Come on.
it's riveting.
I believe you.
All right, moving on to minutes. So we have minutes for, we actually, in addition to what's on the agenda, we have the minutes from July 5th. So Greg, actually, you're at that meeting. I've read through it, and I have just one edit if you want to give that a quick look. I distributed the minutes. Did everyone look at them, or do you want to take another look before we vote? Okay. So let's see how we can put, because you can't vote on the 19th. You weren't here on the 19th. And then Greg wasn't here on the 3rd, so we have to do all these separately. Yeah, 4 meetings and 4 different instances of us. All right, so I will take a motion to approve the minutes for, and on this one, Pat, you cannot vote or make a motion.
So moved.
So 4:19, I'll finish. Minutes of 4:19, April 19th, 2017, as presented. I have a motion from Chris. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye, 3-0. Any-
Greg, if you'd like, I will email you the minutes so you have the format and the document header and all that stuff, so you can use that to...
Yeah, these posted online somewhere?
So we sign these, and then I give them to the town clerk, and they get digitalized, and they'll end up on the town website.
Okay, I can just grab them from there.
Yeah, but I'll send you the Word document.
Okay, yeah.
Because you can't edit the one that's been...
True.
Well, if you have PDF Acrobat and you know how to use it, you can edit it, but that's not a good idea.
So Chris and Greg, I need your signature on those, please. All right, for the meeting on April 26th.
All right, and Greg.
Yeah,
Oh, here. Oh, thanks.
my pen's a little busy.
2017. Present was myself, Chris, Greg, Pat, all of us, all four of us. So take a motion for approval of the minutes on April 26, 2017 as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
And all those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
The chair says aye, 4-0. All right,
That one's good to go.
borrow the pen real quick.
There you go.
Perfect. All right, so the meeting of May 8th, 2017, present was myself, Chris, and Pat. So Greg, you are out of luck on this one. So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of May 8th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye, 3-0.
I guess I gotta sign some of those.
Yep, that one, sorry, that one's coming to you. This one will come to
There you
you
go.
also.
Perfect, thank you. This is the exciting part of the meetings.
So this is
I feel like
everybody.
I'm actually getting to write something down now.
So this is coming to you, Pat. Greg's missed on this one.
Okay.
And finally, we have minutes for Wednesday, July 5th, 2017.
I think I'm out on that one.
Yep, Pat, Greg, and myself, so Chris, you missed that one. So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes for July 5th, 2017 as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Oh, actually, sorry. I need you to I forgot we have to edit this one. I need to make an edit on the voting boxes. We have two listed as open. One should say Chris Prowl, since you are still on the...
Yeah, I accidentally deleted you from the boxes. I'll be happy to go in and edit it and send it after everybody signs it.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
We can just do it here. I actually tried to edit it. I couldn't. I was trying to do work at the same time. So Pat, will you withdraw your motion, your initial motion?
I will. It is
Okay.
withdrawn.
Then can I get a motion to approve the minutes of July 5th, 2017 as amended?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any discussion? None? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair says aye, 3-0. Perfect. Start there. 1, 2, 3. Let's come down again.
Yep, it's gonna do that.
Thank you.
Great for the vegetable garden.
All right, so upcoming business, I don't have anything on upcoming business because I'm not really sure what we're doing, to be honest. So summer is usually a relatively quiet time for actually all boards, Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee. So I wanted to go through the financial policies so we can kind of get a gauge of what we need to look at. Pat and I will work on getting the committee together, and I have to find out about the personnel board also, see what's up with that. And then, we'll look for, we were talking in the last meeting, Chris, about possibly bringing in some of the department heads over the next few months just to have them walk us through their budgets for more of a learning session for everyone on the committee. And then we can kind of leverage that on top of the few departments that we do meet with during the budget process itself. We'll set that schedule in December probably as a committee, however we want to handle that. So I'll start working on putting that together. I'm going to reach out to the town administrator to try and meet with him next week to organize that. Committee updates, I don't have any committee updates. And then Finance Committee Roundtable. So the roundtable, as I've said before, is just kind of general discussion about anything you want to discuss, whether it's about this committee, the finances in general, something in the town that we want to look at. So open up to members first.
Has there been any more discussion on that school field project that you've?
I have not heard anything on that.
I haven't either, so I didn't know if you might have heard something on your end.
I was up there yesterday and I was looking and I was like, it'd be a shame to put up a stadium and then have to rebuild that school.
Roof was leaking in the Page Hilltop today.
Oh, my goodness. I can imagine. No, I haven't heard anything about the field project. I will actually bring it up with the town administrator when I meet with him next week.
Interested to see where it's at because I haven't heard
Okay.
much.
There was a
more
big
about it.
there was a big roar for it, and then it seems to have gone quiet
Petered out,
over the
yeah.
last maybe a month.
Yeah,
Just after town
exactly,
meeting, it seemed
exactly.
to slow down a little bit. So I can find out some information for you on that. Anything else? All right. So the only thing I want to talk about is really is I want to kind of circle back now that Chris is here on town meeting, because we had some discussions during town meeting, and I just so Greg, you were traveling, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you two, yeah, Chris and Pat were there. So the one thing that really struck me was that there wasn't really any information presented, and so to give a little context, so the moderator had reached out to me like two or 3 days before about coming at 6:30 and doing the presentations early, like out in the not in the auditorium but in the main seating area or the cafeteria area, just so that people who want the information could come and they could get it ahead of time. And I think he was looking to facilitate the meeting moving along faster, which it did for
Oh, it did.
35 articles. However, there were a couple of issues with that. One was, which the town administrator brought up, was that it wasn't posted. So, like the warrants went out without this time being posted, which I guess would cause an issue. And then the other thing was just, like I wasn't really prepared for it, and the town account I don't think was fully prepared for it to do ahead of time. So the forum, I mean, it's a good idea, but the forum wasn't really there. So the whole thing about having no presentations during town meeting, I understand trying to move it along, but it
It wasn't a good taste.
okay, because I
think we
felt
talked
the
about
exact
it.
same way.
It definitely
Yes.
wasn't a good taste, and especially when the audience, Connie Sullivan, kept on wanting to know our input on stuff because
Exactly.
it wasn't there. And
Yeah, and I'll admit, we were in no position to really talk in detail about much of anything.
Exactly.
And, generally we are, because we're a lot more involved during the budget process and as the warrant comes together, but given the fact we didn't have quorum until 3 weeks before town meeting, we did the best we could with the information we had. And one thing about the no presentations that does bother me, it's like it's a double-edged sword, is the argument is always that everything else is done in open session, and it is. You can watch the Board of Selectmen meetings, you can go to a Conservation Commission meeting, and all the meetings are available online. But personally, I think that when you go to town meeting, the taxpayer should have some concise information presented to them, whether it's in written format. The 4 debt exclusions all had nice printed material, even if it's just the printed material, so that someone can peruse through and say, all right, they're asking for $15,000 for the memorial garden. What's that going to be for? And that was, nothing was even presented for that
In the past.
And in the past, and that's the other part of what I'm frustrated with, because
I think our conversation, we did share some of our frustration after.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I do want to.
And Mary did bring that to our attention even beforehand. At I think one of our meetings, she asked us about it and said there's not a lot of info on it.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of the frustration. So when I look at the last town meeting, the last budget cycle, it's a little frustrating, and I'm like, part of the reason why we don't have upcoming business is I don't even know where to begin, because I don't know what level of effort we put in, if it's going to be needed or worth it, to be honest. I don't want to go through planning out a year where we start tackling a lot of different instances and then end up going into town meeting in the spring and having the same thing happen, where there's no information, there's no presentations, and everything passes regardless.
Yeah.
So I do want to follow up with a couple of individuals on that. So that's thank you for your input. I'm glad you were here tonight, so we can finally talk about that. What was your thoughts? Or I know you're relatively new to town and the process.
I was surprised that it was so rubber stamped. There was a lot of interest from the audience to have discussion, but there was almost nothing presented for them to have the discussion on, other than the warrant itself.
Yeah.
And that just seemed a little odd to me.
In verbal answers are different than having numbers presented.
Yes.
Because I'm of the mantra where the numbers tell a picture. They paint a picture, they tell a story.
It's a talking point.
Exactly.
You've got something to talk about.
And it's totally different from what I'm used to from down there, because down there, it's everything, there's a presentation done on every big thing. One of the selectmen is assigned to it, will get up and give the presentation. FinCom will chime in, they might give a presentation on it. It's, on the big ticket items, and here it was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, with
Yeah, it did feel very rubber stamped.
Yep.
This year. And, the last couple of years, there hasn't been tons of discussion, there hasn't been a lot of pushback, but there's also been a lot of good information available.
exactly.
The town accountant's presentation on the budget, I will admit, I think it is a little long. She goes very detailed through, revenue, expenses. I always try to keep ours to 4 or 5 pages to get, here's the big picture, here's what we collected last year, this is what we expect next year, here's the percentage change, same thing with operating, kind of break down what the big ticket numbers are, and then just kind of all I look to do when I've done the presentations is to scope where we are financially. That, hey, you know what, we're expecting a 3% increase in revenues, but a 5% increase in operating. And then last year I did a chart that showed revenue projections with operating projections. And you see that, revenue is actually trending higher than the operating expenses. But,
Great thing to see,
Yeah,
That's a good
it's
thing.
wonderful.
Great thing, you
Yeah.
could see that, but I think the mindset is unless somebody asks for it, don't give it.
Yeah. I agree, I agree. I think we've done as a town, we've done a great job over the last 7-8 years, really righting the ship, putting ourselves in a great financial position. You know, that we got some really good people working for us, department heads here in town hall, and you know, it's kind of almost, I feel like, I mentioned to the town administrator last year, I made a comment, I said, I kind of feel like now we have to really look at, we're in a good solid base, how do we really want to run the town? Like, what do we need to run everything efficiently, and what services do the taxpayers want in return for their money? So, but, you know, the last town meeting, I kind of walked out with the rubber stamp, like, okay, what does this mean?
Yeah.
So, all right, I just wanted to kind of bring that up for discussion. I know it was 2 months ago at this point, but I thought it was worth rehashing.
It'd be interesting to know if there had been any taxpayer feedback to the selectmen or to the town administrator or to the clerk or anybody about that, just to kind of gauge the audience's.
The one observation I'll have from going to every town meeting over the last 8 years, it's always the same people.
It's the same people.
It is.
You know, it's like going to any other, more or less, committees or, you know, clubs, you know, the Boosters Club, it's the same people that do
Exactly.
that. It's,
Yeah.
you know, the high
That's
school
typical.
band, the same people that do
Yeah.
that. Some of the Conservation Committee, the same people at that. It's you know, I don't know if it's the point that people's plates are too full, but, you know.
And I think that's where the no presentations was going, was trying to almost offer, like, town meeting, it's 3 hours of your evening, and then you're done.
It's not, you know, a 2-day, 3-day event.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll actually, to your point, I think if you look at what makes up quorum for the town meeting, probably half of those people are on boards and
Boards,
committees
yeah.
in town.
Or employees.
Or employees, yeah.
Yeah. Department heads, employees, yeah.
I agree.
You know, it's not like, you know, what I've seen, not here, but where I am down there, when a school vote comes or something, it's flooded, then it's the
Oh,
same
yeah.
thing. Then the people just leave. It's the same thing.
Up until 2 years ago,
It's the
that's the
same
way
people.
the school budget used to be voted.
Yep.
I mean, we'd show up, there'd be like 150 people for town meeting. As soon as the school budget was voted, they'd
Off
start
they went.
trickling out, and then we'd be down to our usual 75 people.
Yep.
So put it last to keep higher numbers, or put it first to get out the fair weather fans?
There's a certain order that the warrant has to go in for the first 4.
Yeah, operating's going.
Yeah, operating has to be in like the third or the
Yeah,
fourth,
it's right
because
up
it's
front.
the election results, then the elected official salaries, and then the operating. And then I think school, they would put like 5th or 6th
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah. And
They
then
could put it last, and there was talk of doing that one year, but we didn't think that would sit very well.
Not, especially at 11 o'clock at night. It went that long.
No, definitely not. But,
Glad we're
so,
on the same
yeah,
page.
I'll follow up with a couple of people I just want to have some conversations
Yeah.
with, and I'll let you guys know what I find out. Anything else for the roundtable? We don't have to run out of here because it's pouring.
Do you want to talk
ready
to,
to go
or I
front.
can talk to Tom Horgan and see his take on it, the moderator?
I am actually going to reach out to him directly because
Okay.
I need to, there's a few things I want to talk to him about.
Okay.
Just about personally, so.
All right.
All right. So our next meeting, so generally during the summer, we meet once a month, and this is our meeting for July, unless everyone wants to really meet again in July, we can do that.
It'll be 3 in July.
So my thought was, I don't know if when people have vacation planned, and I'll stress, don't give your vacation plans in open session, because this will be televised. My thought was either sticking to our regular schedule, the 9th or the 23rd, or we can just smack it in the middle and go on the 16th. But if you guys are okay with just a single meeting in August, I can do this via email so everyone can check their schedules, and it's not being discussed in open session on video.
I would prefer the earlier rather than the later, just on
Okay.
my account. I don't know how you guys are.
I am free all August.
You're free all August, I'm free all
Yeah.
August.
Me too, so.
All right, so the 9th would work better? All
9th
right,
would work.
so we'll do August 9th. So the hope at that time is Pat and I will have something on the policy committee.
Yep.
I will meet with the town administrator and get some more information. We'll have a follow-up on the town meeting discussion. And then we can start, actually, I mean, even in August, we can start talking the budget. And also, department heads, I'll talk to see about getting maybe a department head or two in to talk us through what their budget does. It's, you know, it's one of those things where when I first started, we were meeting 3 nights a week. Yeah, 3 nights a week for 3 weeks. Or actually 4 nights a week for 3 weeks. And it was long. We met with every single department head, but it was very informative. You know, you learn so much. Like Council on Aging, you know, she would come in and she gives her presentation of what she does, and she would even say like, "This is my moment to shine." And she, you know, and you see the passion of some of the people who run their departments and are on the committees and the boards with the work that they do. And I think that's an important thing that you know, we've kind of gotten away from, primarily because a lot of the members, you know, you saw that we had 5 members, everyone knew what was going on. But I think with new faces on the committee, it's worth kind of redoing that, but not condensing it into the month of January. We'll try to do it ahead of time. So just for a knowledge transfer, so you guys can get up to speed and get a good understanding of what each of the boards and the committees and the departments do. All right.
Yeah, it'd be informative. I'd be interested in that.
All right. It is very interesting when
Yeah.
you start digging into it. All right. Anything else for discussion tonight? No? With that, I will take a motion to adjourn at 7:48.
So moved.
Seconded?
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.